Let it be known that British liberties are not the grants of princes or parliaments. That many of our rights are inherent and essential, agreed on as maxims and established as preliminaries even before Parliament existed. We have a right to them, derived from our Maker. Our forefathers have earned and bought liberty for us at the expense of their ease, their estates, their pleasures, and their blood. Liberty is not built on the doctrine that a few nobles have a right to inherit the earth. No! No! It stands on this principle that the meanest and lowest of the people are, by the unalterable, indefeasible laws of God and nature, as well entitled to the benefit of the air to breathe, light to see, food to eat, and clothes to wear as the nobles or the king. That is liberty. And liberty will reign in America.
We the people must unite. Reject this global scheme. The thought of war or governance and the evil that can bring. The tactics of financial meltdown, the crisis that they need. All the nations of this world must defend their sovereignty. This will lead to war and chaos, and the excuse they need. A world order dictatorship and their patiently crafted scheme. The right. Corruption, the cancer that destroys us. They buy, they bind us. Enslavement is the hope for those who falsely think they're free. Cowards, they hide in ivory towers. Treason, committed by the hour. Destruction, without the Constitution, is bondage we will be. We, the people, surround them. Rise up and seize the day. The people, surround them. End the tyrant's reign. The people, surround them. Are you free? Are you a slave? The people, surround them. Lock them down, we'll have our way. Complacency betrays us. Liars, Congress now enslaves us. Fascists, it's what we are now. Do you really think you're free? Power, they can't live and let us be. Terror, it's the tactic that they deceivers. They have destroyed our freedom and crushed our liberties. We, the people, surround them. Rise up and seize the day. The people, surround them. End the tyrant's reign. The people, surround them. Are you free? Are you a slave? The people, surround them.
Okay, today is Friday, November 21st, 2014, and this is We the People Show with Jessica Lamb and I Am Man. To start off the show tonight, we're going to start out with a week review, since we only have one show a week. We're going to go through some of the things that have been going on, so I'm going to play some audio for you guys. And then after that, we're going to go into a couple of the videos some of the people have submitted. Because I put out a video this week asking for the people to make videos if they wanted their voice heard on the show this week. So, here we go.
Good evening, everybody. The Russian warship that you see on your screen among the warships that are now positioned in the international waters just off the coast of northeastern Australia, where world leaders, including President Obama and President Putin, have gathered in Brisbane for the G20 summit. The ships, well, they were beckoned there by their nation's ambitious, reckless leader who wants both security and to remind his counterparts their sanctions against Russia aren't likely to be borne without consequence. Putin is a man who, to this point, has waged a successful campaign of aggression and annexation of territory to enlarge his already substantial power and the borders of the nation that he rules. The Russian president seems intent on restoring Russia to a prominence that a generation of Russians have only dreamt of since the fall of the Soviet Union. Putin's imperialism in Eastern Europe is more evident by the day, unchecked and unchallenged by President Obama, save but by rhetoric only. Mr. Obama is a man surrounded by conflict internationally and at home. Just more than a week after a disastrous midterm election, President Obama, defying the wishes of the American public and the Republican-controlled legislative branch of government. The president promising to unilaterally legalize more than 5 million illegal immigrants by executive fiat.
I indicated to Speaker Boehner several months ago that if, in fact, Congress failed to act, I would use all the lawful authority that I possess to try to make the system work better. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen before the end of the year.
But that comment the president has just expressed reveals he is also in conflict with himself and his record. More than once over the past 3 years, President Obama has acknowledged he doesn't have the legal authority to change the nation's immigration laws without congressional consent. Here is what he admitted about the limits of presidential power.
For me to simply, through executive order, ignore those congressional mandates would not conform with my appropriate role as president. With respect to the notion that I can just suspend deportations through executive order, that's just not the case. This notion that somehow I can just change the laws unilaterally is just not true.
And we are now back with our panel. If you wanted some real fun, you should have heard these guys during the break. Brad Blakeman, Corey Elon. This go around, we're going to focus on immigration. We want you to respond to a clip from the G20 of the president asked about taking a potential executive order. Here it is.
You said, quote, "I'm president, I'm not king. I can't do these things just by myself."
Right.
In 2013, you said, "I'm not the emperor of the United States. My job is to execute laws that are passed." Mr. President, what has changed since then?
There are certain limits to what falls within the realm of prosecutorial discretion in terms of how we apply existing immigration laws. And what we've continued to do is to talk to Office of Legal Counsel that's responsible for telling us what the rules are, what the scope of our operations are, and determining where it is appropriate for us to say, we're not going to deport 11 million people.
Breaking tonight, we now appear to be days away from President Obama bypassing Congress and allowing some 5 million illegal immigrants to stay in America, despite his own earlier assertions that he has no legal right to do this. Good evening, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Kelly File. President Obama came out swinging once again today, dismissing threats from Republican lawmakers that taking executive action on immigration would cause a constitutional crisis. He has been promising for years that he would go through Congress to achieve immigration reform, Back in 2008, then Senator Obama said he would get reform done in his first year in office if elected. When in fact he was sworn into office, he had large Democratic majorities in both the Senate and the House. So large, in fact, he could have designed and passed a bill exclusively through the Democrats. Instead, he focused on what would become his signature legislation, Obamacare. By the time President Obama began his second term, he no longer had control of the House. He vowed again to make immigration a focus of his agenda, but then the administration turned its sights on gun control. In June 2013, the Senate finally passed an immigration bill, but the House by that point said no. So now, after a major midterm election loss that put both the Senate and the House in GOP control, the president says he now plans to bypass Congress altogether, allowing, with the stroke of a pen, millions to stay in this country.
Good evening, everybody. The Cold War has resumed. Russia is not only ratcheting up its Cold War rhetoric, but dispatching troops and scores of tanks and advanced weaponry into eastern Ukraine to further advance Vladimir Putin's unchecked and so far unchallenged expansionist ambitions. NATO's top commander, General Philip Breedlove, today confirmed that the Russian army is indeed invading Ukraine from the east.
We have seen columns of Russian equipment, primarily Russian tanks, Russian artillery, Russian air defense systems, and Russian combat troops entering into Ukraine. Forces, money, support, supplies, weapons are flowing back and forth across this border completely at will, and that is not a good situation.
As General Breedlove says, not a good situation, and a situation that is deteriorating quickly. General Breedlove also said Russian forces already deployed in Crimea are being reinforced, that Russia is sending what he called nuclear-capable troops into the disputed territory with heavy weaponry. The general made it clear as well that NATO has not yet assessed nor confirmed that Russia is sending nuclear weapons for positioning in Crimea. Also tonight, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced that Russia will be returning to the Cold War era of more than 2 decades ago as it's set to reinstitute long-range bomber patrols that will be approaching U.S. territory, interests, and our military presence throughout the Western Hemisphere. Those patrols will likely be stretching from the Arctic region into the Gulf of Mexico, a threatening and confrontational extension of military power by Russia that hasn't been seen since the fall of the Soviet Union. The Pentagon today, however, responded to all of that with constraint, almost passivity.
As President Obama is preparing to issue that threatened executive fiat that would give de facto amnesty to millions of illegal immigrants. Critics call it unconstitutional. It could come next week. A new report from the Center for Immigration Studies shows 42% of those taking advantage of the new Medicaid expansion under Obamacare are immigrants and their U.S.-born children. There is no differentiation in that report between legal and illegal immigrants. And that comes at the cost to taxpayers of almost $5 billion over 2 years. A new report by the Associated Press finds the federal government now uses only drones to patrol almost half the nearly 2,000-mile border with Mexico. Let me repeat, drones, only drones, surveying half of our border with Mexico. That means no agents, no camera towers, no ground sensors, no fences in many places. But predator drones sweeping remote mountains, canyons, and rivers with high-resolution cameras. That's border security.
Live coverage. A prayer will be offered today by our guest chaplain, Imam Ahmad Shabli, Islamic Society of Central New Jersey, Monmouth Junction, New Jersey.
Peace and the blessings of Allah be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Praise be to Allah.
Obama's foreign policy is in shambles. He pivots to Asia as China and Russia lock arms with Iran, creating a neo-Axis alliance that effectively means there is now more than one superpower. A new Cold War is underway. For more on the emerging New World Order, join us tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
See how it goes this time, Martha.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
2 Bibles.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
We expect people who live in this country to play by the rules. We expect that those who cut the line will not be unfairly rewarded. So we're going to offer the following deal. If you've been in America for more than 5 years, if you have children who are American citizens or legal residents, if you register, pass a criminal background check, and you're willing to pay your fair share of taxes, you'll be able to apply to stay in this country temporarily without fear of deportation. You can come out of the shadows and get right with the law. That's what this deal is.
Okay, so I know I said I was going to go directly into the videos that were submitted, but there's a couple things that there's an article that I want to talk about that just came out today. And I'm not sure if people know this because I've been watching the news today and I haven't heard much of it on the news. It says Obama releases, this came out of the Washington Examiner, Obama releases Gitmo detainees with GOP. This was written by Charles Hoskins, November 21st, 2014. There's a video coming up here, so I gotta pause it.
The more you learn about...
Says President Obama has opened a new front in his hard line against the incoming Republican Congress by releasing more detainees from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, against lawmakers' objections. The Pentagon announced Thursday that 4 al-Qaeda fighters from Yemen, including a senior figure who was facilitated travel to Afghanistan for Arab extremists, and a Tanzanian extremist would be transferred to Slovakia and Georgia. The transfers leave 143 detainees at Guantanamo, which Obama has vowed to close. Republican lawmakers who have been pressing the administration to stop releasing detainees amid reports that some former prisoners had joined the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria were furious. If just one U.S. soldier loses their life over these transfers, we will have failed in our duty to the people, said outgoing House Armed Service Committee Chairman Buck McKinnon. What the Obama administration is doing is dangerous and frankly reckless. They have chosen many times to put politics above national security. It is time they stop playing with fire and start doing what is right. Until we can assure the terrorists stay off the battlefield, they must stay behind bars, the California Republican said. McKinnon wrote Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel on October 30th, asking him to stop further transfers of detainees, and confronted Hagel about the issue at a November 13th committee hearing. Every time I certify and send up documentation to this committee, I am saying to this committee with my name and reputation that I believe that the assurances substantially mitigate the risk to this country and to our allies of certain detainee releases, Hagel told him. According to the latest report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, 107 of 620 detainees released from Guantanamo, or 17.3%, had been confirmed as returning to terrorism as of July 15th, and another 77, or 12.4%, were suspected of having done so. One of those, Abdul Rahim Muslim Dost, has emerged as a leader of the Islamic State in Pakistan, according to the Pakistani newspaper Dawn. Of 5 of those transfers were announced Thursday, 2 Tanzanian, Hashim bin Ali bin Amor Sliti, and Yemeni Hossein Salim Mohammed al-Mahati Yafi went to Slovakia. 3 Yemeni detainees, Salam Mohammed Salah, I can't say these names, Dahadi, yeah, were released to Georgia. The 4 Yemenis all had been in U.S. custody since 2002 after having been captured in Afghanistan or Pakistan. One of them, Yafi, came into U.S. custody after having been arrested in Iran and handed over to the Afghans. According to an April 2008 assessment, he was judged to be at high risk for returning to his past activities and was recommended for continued detention. Detainee is a member of Al-Qaeda who served as a travel facilitator, providing false travel documents for Arab extremists transiting Iran for entry into Afghanistan, the assessment said. Salidi, the Tanzanian, was a member of the Tanzanian Combatant Group, an Islamist extremist organization founded by his cousin. He was captured in December 2001 by the Pakistani army and handed over to U.S. custody. So I just wanted to cover that since we were talking about all the violations of the Constitution that are going on. So it's not just a battle with this immigration thing. It's also, he is pretty much pushing the Republicans to the breaking point by releasing more terrorists. Sorry I couldn't say their names right, but I'm just going to call them terrorists because that's what they are. I'm surprised that this was not covered on Fox, but I was going through Judge Report today, judgereport.com, and they put up almost all the stories that come out. And I saw this, I said, are you kidding me? He's releasing more terrorists on top of this immigration thing. So, for those of you that didn't hear about this, this is posted in We the People if you want to go check it out.
Well, since he signed this amnesty and everything like that, everyone that's in that prison is on a U.S. soil, right?
I guess. I don't know. So
if they're detainees or refugees or whatever, doesn't that make them Americans also?
I don't think he would I don't know if he's that. I don't know. I think he's, arrogant, but I don't think he's that arrogant to do something like that. But yet again, he is releasing them. So that's just as bad, I would guess. I mean, if people don't think about it with this amnesty thing, it's not just going to be people from Mexico. It's going to be terrorists that are already here. They're going to be getting Social Security cards. They're going to be getting benefits. They're going to be getting jobs. So, and then and the majority of people making $10 to $15 an hour, I'd give it 6 months. There's going to be people who are going to start getting fired, and they're going to be hiring these people with a lower wage. And we already have problems getting jobs as it is. And that's what I don't understand is how he can say, well, we don't have the money to help the veterans who are waiting in line to get care at these VA hospitals. We don't have the money. We don't have the money to hire staff to take care of these men. You don't have the money to take care of these men who fought and bled and watched their friends die for this country. But yet you can bring millions of people into this country and give them Social Security cards, give them license, give them jobs, give them benefits, give them food stamps. How many times are we going to listen to the lie over and over again? And then you have a 90-year-old veteran who served in World War II, who was arrested for feeding the homeless. They literally told him to put down his plate because they considered it a weapon. We have homeless on the streets. You have a veteran, a 90-year-old man out there feeding these people who served his country and gave his all, and now he's giving more of himself for his countrymen who are starving, who are on the streets, who don't have a home. And I'm sure a majority of those men and women are veterans. And then we get the excuse from our government that they can't afford to take care of our men and women who's given everything for their country and for us. But yet they can bring people over here who have not worked a day and give them everything. I think that's the biggest thing. That's one of the things that makes me mad the most, is that right there. On top of the fact that there's most people that can't find a job right now, and now it's going to even be worse. So now we're going to go into some of the videos that were put out today. Chris put out a video this week, Carrie Kelly, and then I have a friend of mine. She would like to remain anonymous, so we're going to do that. And then we'll get back to more news articles. So I got to go into here and get everything ready. So we're going to start out with Chris Rubner's video.
Good afternoon, America. I come to you today with some pretty heavy things to think about. We are at a pinnacle in American history today. There is the possibility of there being some extreme violence today, depending on how our traitor of a president handles all of this. We have to think about what's going to happen if he passes, or when he passes, immigration reform, amnesty. This is going to give all of the illegals a big green flag to do whatever they want to do. It's going to empower them. They're going to attempt to push all of us citizens around. They're going to try to take advantage of the situation every way possible. We're already seeing gang members that are willing to take on the police. We see gang members in our neighborhoods that are infiltrating the gangs that were already there to make them more powerful. We're seeing a lot of things going on, including terrorist organizations. Hamas is here, ISIS is here. All these terrorists from across the country, across the world, have snuck into the United States because Obama has invited them in. Now he's going to make them all legal. We got a lot of things to think about, Americans. We have got a lot of things to think about. All of us that are prayer warriors, we have been praying hard to try to fix all of this, asking for God's guidance and God's help. We need to continue doing that. This is all meant to be. This is all going to happen because God wants it to happen, because we're suffering judgment on the land due to our ungodliness in this country. We still have a lot of things to face. We have this immigration reform amnesty to deal with, and we're going to be dealing with a whole bunch of screaming immigrants that think that they can do whatever they want to in our country because now they're citizens. What happens in Ferguson tonight is going to deem how the federal government is going to handle a lot of things across the country. They're ready to try to shut down not only Missouri, but according to the FBI, a lot of the country too, because they're feeling that the violence is going to spill over, it's going to go into other cities, and it's going to go rampant across the country. I've already had reports last night of blacks in California that were rioting, not to the point of looting or anything like that, but they're out in the streets creating havoc because of what's going on in Ferguson. They've ramped up the race war now to where this is going to be everyone against everyone. Us that are citizens, us that are tax-paying, working, legal citizens that pay our bills, that do what we have to survive and to help our families. We're going to be the targets. Obama has made sure that we are the targets. They've turned the blacks against us with their race baiting, with Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and all the other morons that are down there, the Black Panthers, Hamas. They've even got mosques from all around the area that have put together a hit list of places that they're going after when the riots start. This is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad, and we need to be prepared for it. You need to be ready. You need to be ready to defend your families, because when the federal government breaks all this loose on us, we're going to be the ones that are going to be victimized. I hate to use that word because I have never once in my life considered myself to be a victim of anything. But the races are coming after all of us. The white, Caucasian, hardworking Americans. We are the ones that they're going to come hunting down to destroy our businesses, to destroy our homes, to kill our families, to do all of these horrible things. We're the ones. Be ready, America. Be ready. Pray. Get your family together and pray. Ask for help. We need God to help us. We need to ask for forgiveness, and we need to see if we can get God on our side to help us through this, because the ungodliness in this country is what's driving all of this. If it wasn't for the fact that this country is so ungodly, we wouldn't have Obama as our president, because he's been placed there by God to punish us. Let's repent. Let's pray. Let's get your family together, get your firearms together, and get ready, because this is going to bust loose. The next couple of days is going to be very telling of what the future holds. Be ready, America. I'm keeping this down to under 6 minutes so that way Jessica can post it, and it seems like more people are willing to watch these videos if they're under 20 minutes. It appears that Americans' attention span is pretty short nowadays, and I attribute that to the dumbing down of America. Be ready. Have yourself prepared. And like I said before, it's probably a really good idea to station a sentry in your homes at night. That way there's no surprises in the middle of the night. 2-hour shifts, trade off, make sure that nobody is sleeping while they're supposed to be on duty. This is something that's going to be a must, because if it goes down in your neighborhood and you're not prepared, you're dead. That's all there is to it. These people are going to drag you out of your home and kill you, rape your family, destroy your home, take everything that you own, and they're going to leave you in the street to bleed to death. They're going to cut your throat, especially if they're terrorists. They're going to cut your head off. If you're a Christian, they're going to cut your head off. So be ready, because this is really being fueled now. Obama's making sure that he is pushing every button possible to come after us. Patriots, I think it's time to make a decision. I think it's time that we decide whether or not we wait for them to shoot us or we take the initiative to defend ourselves, because that's what it's going to come down to. Be ready. God bless. And I pray for all of us. Have a good day.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hope your day's gone great. Uncle Kerry here. Tonight I'd like to speak a little bit about sovereignty. Sovereign, the meaning of the word is so over reigns, which simply means that you're in control of the reins. When the Constitution was drafted, it gave us a republic, not a democracy, as they claim now. This republic gave us our sovereignty, which meant we were in charge of our own lives and destiny. Also that we, the people, in fact, were in control of our elected representatives. Amendments 9 and 10 of the Constitution explain that best. Are we still sovereign? Yes and no. Under the Constitution, we are still sovereign citizens of our individual state. The Republic basically made each state into its own country, hence the United States. by all rights today, we still are sovereign. But two things in history changed the dynamic of our sovereignty. The 14th Amendment and the Act of 1871. I believe it was in 1868. The 14th Amendment was introduced as a way to make newly freed slaves into American citizens. Not sovereign citizens, though, mind you. Also written into that amendment was a way to try and change the status of sovereign citizen. The Act of 1871 would virtually close the deal. Now, on February 21st, 1871, the 41st Congress, because of the Civil War, needed money to sustain the Republic. So they passed the Act of 1871. Basically, they wanted to borrow money from the international banking community. But the bankers said, oh, no, no, no. We want collateral. So they offered up our government capital, the 10 square miles of the District of Columbia, as collateral. This act converted our republic's government into a corporation, the United States of America Incorporated, all in capital letters, which in turn made the government no longer accountable to the sovereign citizens. That 10 square mile property of ours would now be only accountable to the banks and the kings and queens that ran them. Well, after a while, the corporation, under the wording of the 14th Amendment, figured out a way to illegally force sovereign citizens into contractual second-class servants of the corporation. That was done by income tax, social security numbers, driver's license, and so on. Why? Because the Act of 1871 was only to have authority over the 10 square miles of the District of Columbia, and never to infringe on the Republic and its citizens. But that would never be enough for the international bankers or the corporation, for that matter. So through loopholes of corruption, our sovereignty was compromised. Therefore, any law that was created after the 10 common laws stated in our Republic's Constitution are unlawful to the Republic. Basically, it means that they made a way to make us slaves of the corporation. But yet we still are sovereign through our states. The states have the right to choose to follow federal law or not. Excuse me. We have only 10 common laws in this country, our republic. They're listed in the original 10 of the Constitution. All the rest of them really don't mean anything. But we adhere to them. We get arrested for them. These are all corporation generated laws. all I wanted to do by explaining some of these things was to know that we have always been a sovereign nation. But basically we were raped of that right. And everything against the Constitution was perpetrated against us. But we let it happen. Because, in essence, we really didn't know better. But now it's coming to light that through study, research, and all those things, that a lot of us are seeing the light. And seeing what the corporate government has done and keeps doing to us. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw a couple things out there. Everybody think about for a little bit. As always, glad for you to see me again. Hope you all have a great night. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
We the people of the United States, in order to perform a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity. Do ordain and establish the Constitution for the United States of America. Preamble of the organic, original Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Excerpted from the Direct Declaration of Independence of the original 13 United States of America. July 4th, 1776. The greatest experiment ever begun. It ended February 21st, 1871. The 41st Congress was in session. Under the Acts of the 41st Congress, Section 34, Session 3, Chapter 61 and 62, Congress passed an act titled, An Act to Provide a Government for the District of Columbia. This is also known as the Act of 1871. Congress, under no constitutional authority to do so, created a separate form of government for the District of Columbia, which is a 10-mile square parcel of land located between Maryland and Virginia. At the time, our country was in peril, suffering from bankruptcy due to the Civil War, a strategic maneuver by European interests, the international bankers. The Congress knew we were in trouble and cut a deal with the international bankers. In essence, this act formed the corporation known as the United States. Note the capitalization, because it is important. This corporation, owned by foreign interests, moved right in and shoved the original organic version of the Constitution in a dusty corner. With the Act of 1871, our Constitution was defaced in the sense that the title was block capitalized and the word for was changed to the word of in the title. The original Constitution, drafted by the Founding Fathers, was written in this manner. The Constitution for the United States of America. The altered version reads, the Constitution of the United States of America. It is the corporate Constitution. It is not the same document you might think it is. The corporate Constitution operates in an economic capacity and has been used to fool the people into thinking it is the same parchment that governs the Republic. It absolutely is not. Capitalization an insignificant change, not when one is referring to the context of a legal document. It isn't. Such minor alterations have had major impacts on each subsequent generation born in this country. What the Congress did with the passage of the Act of 1871 was to create an entirely new document, a constitution for the government of the District of Columbia. The kind of government they created was a corporation. The new, altered Constitution serves as the Constitution of the corporation and not that of America. Think about that for a moment. Incidentally, this corporate Constitution does not benefit the Republic. It serves only to benefit the corporation. It does nothing good for you or me, and it operates outside of the original Constitution. The 41st Congress was in session. The Republic fell legally on February 21st, 1871, long before any of us were born, long before our history books were written, long before the dollar, world wars, and the Depression. So, Congress committed treason against the people, who were considered sovereign under the Declaration of Independence and the Organic Constitution. When we consider the word sovereign, we must think about what the word means. According to Webster's Dictionary, sovereign is defined as 1. Chief or highest supreme. 2. Supreme in power, superior in position to all others. 3. Independent of and unlimited by any other, possessing or entitled to original and independent authority or jurisdiction. In other words, our government was created by and for sovereigns, the free citizens who were deemed the highest authority. Only the people can be sovereign. Remember that. Government cannot be sovereign. We can also look to the Declaration of Independence, where we read, "Government is subject to the consent of the governed." That's supposed to be us, the sovereigns. Do you feel like a sovereign nowadays? I refer you to the United States Code. Note the capitalization indicating the corporation, not the Republic. Title 28, 3002, Section 15, A, B, and C. It is stated equivocally that the United States is a corporation. For some reason, this video decides it's going to end early. Okay, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with Miss Anonymous, one of my other friends who decided she was going to do a video on the UN and a couple other things. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back.
This song goes out to the UN.
Yeah.
Giants on the rise. When you fall to your knees, will you stand and fight? Come and take it. Bring it on. In defiance of your tyranny, Sparta will stand strong. All at once I felt tremendous weight, as if my chest was going to cave. The tears that fell left a stain, the world we know's enslaved. Now I know it's hard to hear, you better heed the words I say. If we don't act as one, you'll see the false prophets will betray. Our lives to find freedom. Our lives to live in our own way. Our lives must define freedom. Or will we let them take it away? Our lives to define freedom. Our lives to live in our own way. Our lives must define freedom. Or will we let them take it away? Now awake, I face the task ahead. Will we march into bloodshed? The founding fathers warned us, the coming threat, the web of debt conceals. Where are the sons of liberty? Will the fascists have their way? You don't act as one, you'll see the false prophets will betray. Our lives to define freedom. Our lives to live in our own way. Our lives must define freedom. Or will we let them take it away? Our lives to define freedom. Our lives to live in our own way. Our lives must define freedom. Or will we let them take it away? Rise up to define freedom. This revolution coming. Rise up to define freedom. Or will we let them take it away? Rise up to define freedom. There's revolution coming. Rise up, bring down the fascists, bring down the tyrants with liberty. Rise up every day. Rise up in your way. Rise up every day. Or will we let them take it away? Rise up every day. Rise up in your way. Don't let them take it away. Every day. Don't let them take it. Don't let them take it away. Liberty or tyranny. It's your choice to make. Liberty or tyranny. It's your choice to make.
Okay, so now we're going to play Miss Anonymous's video. She specifically told us that she did not want her name mentioned. So she's going to speak about the UN and a couple of the other problems that we have going on, not just in our country, but in hers as well. So here's Miss Anonymous's video.
Hello, America. There's just a few things I'm unsure that I want to talk about, but this there has been talk about the UN and what it plans on doing. I tell you now, your government has sold everybody out. Our government has sold us out. The people do not have a choice now. Come December 24th, this year, we will be under the UN. We don't have the say. The documents have been signed on the dotted line, and everything has been said and done. The UN is taking over. There's no two ways about it. You can be against it all you want, but it's too late to do anything about it. You can try all that you want to see if you can do something about it. I'm hoping the states can, but if they can't, I can guarantee come the 24th of December, the UN takes over the countries. And they're not stopping. To my understanding, from what I've heard and what I've been told, that the UN has their own army, so which would mean that our armies would be null and void. Our armies do not count. They will be let go of their job, from my understanding and from what I was told, that this is what's going to happen. And because the UN has their own army, the officers, police officers, that are now dealing with your district, dealing with your sections, dealing with your state or province, will be who will be standing in as well as not an officer, but as a soldier of our country. Figure that one out. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I think our soldiers should be at least acknowledged, but they are not going to be acknowledged. The next thing that I want to talk about is people that are complaining that there's laws against feeding the homeless, getting arrested, and all this kind of stuff. The UN has promised they are going to deal with these people that are on the street. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, are they going to let them live, or are they going to let them die? Or are they going to kill them? That is the question you've got to ask. The next thing that I want to say, because I've been hearing that there's been vets on the street, have no place to go, have no home, nothing. I think they have a plan for that, and I think they're going to actually get them a certain section that these veterans will have their own little place where they can interact with each other and have human contact and whatnot. But they are going to have to get a job. They don't have a choice now. If they don't get a job, then they have to deal with the UN. The governments are regardless how you voted this time, to my understanding, the UN is now not controlling them, but telling them what to do. It is up to the people that you voted in to either follow what they're telling you, or they will have to deal with the UN. There have been threats against our government officials, not just by videos, not just by chats or phone calls or anything like that, but actually been to our officials' homes, actually have also threatened our soldiers that we have now. They have been threatened not by phone, not by verbal. It was always by threats written on their wall or of their home, or some kind of a threat, and it was at their home. So the Army is doing the best they can to keep their troops safe. The government is trying to keep the troops. Government is trying to do everything they can so that nothing happens to the government right now. But like I said, the UN has a lot to do with what is going to be happening. To my understanding, in the US, they are going to have tanks coming out on the 24th, and they are going to start enforcing their laws. I'm sorry to say, people, it's coming to a head, and crackdown is now, or it's either do or die, and that's the only way I can put it. Is either we do it, or we die doing it. And the 24th is the crunch time, and this is the crunch time. The UN will be taking over. There is no two ways about it. Both governments have, my government and your government, have both signed at the same time on the same day. And they decided that they were going to go through with this. Obama is still in the office, from what I understand. He says that he hasn't signed any papers. He's a bunch of bull. He is lying to the public because he's still seen in the office. He's still seen making judgments. He is still seen doing saying what should be people want to hear, and that's what they're doing. They're letting people hear what they want you to hear when you need to hear it. And that should never have been the case. You guys should have been told up front, this is what's happening, this is what's going to happen, and it should have been involved. And yes, we all have our agendas through our lives, or through our life. Some of us farmers, some of us city slickers, some of us are, do what we do. And to my understanding, they're going to get rid of the low-income families. They're going to have you will be either middle class or high class family. I don't know about the States, but here in Canada, they're getting rid of the low income farms. They've already done that, and they're keeping the farms that have milk and that, and the other farmers are just making it by, they're getting rid of. I still do not understand why both the president and our prime minister went to China and did their little bit when our country needs the money. They are both governments spent over $8 million in China. What they did over there, I have no idea. But they spent $8 million. Just poof, like that. And that is what you gotta get upset about, because since you don't know what they used the $8 million on, it needs to hit home for them that they can't do this. We need to do something. We can't just sit around and do nothing. If you think it's not going to happen, you are most sadly mistaken. I know different. I know what's going on. And by having this out there, I'm hoping somebody actually will wake up and actually see the reality on the board. And the reality is, UN is coming. It's who's going to stop them that is going to make a difference. And if it's stopped in the States, Canada may follow suit. And I will tell you this, it is very, very important that we take this right down to the very last letter. I understand people are out there saying, oh, this will never happen. Our government will never let this happen. Think again. They've already sold you. They sold you out. Do you think they honestly have your best interest at heart? No. No. That is their farthest thing from their mind. They are looking at where they can get the biggest and better buck. And if they think that they can save a buck with having the UN take over, that is exactly what's going to happen. Exactly. They don't care. They care about what is happening around them, and the richer is going to get richer, the poor is going to get poorer, and middle class, well, you know, middle class always stays middle class. But I had to get this out there. I had to say this, and I had asked specifically my name never be mentioned, and I made sure that my name is not mentioned in this video. So if you have any questions and you think, well, that ain't gonna happen, you better start thinking, because reality is now. Reality is today. So if you think this is not going to happen, you are most sadly mistaken, because it is happening. It is going on now, and reality date is the 24th.
Okay, so I saw this video this morning that came out on C-SPAN of Ted Cruz. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to play this video before I go into the rest of the news articles is because I am really getting sick and tired of politicians on both sides of the aisle saying that we live in a democracy. Finally, I hear a politician say, we live in a republic. So I'm going to play this video. I guess this came out today. It's pretty interesting. So here we go. I'm going to play this, then we're going to go into some of the news articles.
Mr. President.
The senator from Texas.
The words of Cicero, powerfully relevant 2,077 years later. When, President Obama, do you mean to cease abusing our patience? How long is that madness of yours still to mock us? When is there to be an end to that unbridled audacity of yours, swaggering about as it does now? Do not the nightly guards placed on the border, do not the watches posted throughout the city, does not the alarm of the people and the union of all good men and women, does not the precaution taken of assembling the Senate in this most defensible place, do not the looks and countenances of this venerable body here present have any effect upon you? Do you not feel that your plans are detected? Do you not see that your conspiracy is already arrested and rendered powerless by the knowledge that everyone here possesses of it? What is there that you did last night? What the night before? Where is it that you were? Who was there that you summoned to meet you? What designs was there which was adopted by you, with which you think that any one of us is unacquainted? Shame on the age and its lost principles. The Senate is aware of these things. The Senate sees them. And yet this man dictates by his pen and his phone. Dictates. He won't even come into the Senate. He will not take part in the public deliberations. He ignores every individual among us. And we, gallant men and women, think that we are doing our duty to the Republic if we keep out of the way of his frenzied attacks. You ought, President Obama, long ago have been led to defeat by your own disdain for the people. That destruction which you have been long plotting ought to have already fallen. What shall we, who are the Senate, tolerate President Obama openly desirous to destroy the Constitution in this republic? For I pass over older instances, such as how the IRS plotted to silence American citizens. There was once such virtue in this republic that brave men and women would repress mischievous citizens with severer chastisement than the most bitter enemy. For we have a resolution of the Senate, a formidable and authoritative decree against you, Mr. President. The wisdom of the Republic is not at fault, nor the dignity of this senatorial body. We alone, I say it openly, we the Senate are waiting in our duty to stop this lawless administration and its unconstitutional amnesty. I yield the floor. And it's the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Okay, we're back. I just wanted to play that because I actually heard it this morning. Supposedly it came out yesterday. So I don't know if everybody had a chance to hear it. But it was refreshing to hear a politician actually say several times within 4 minutes that we live in a republic. So I just wanted to play this tonight because it was just refreshing to hear. A lot of people don't trust Ted Cruz, but it was just good to hear that, because even John Boehner was like calling it a democracy. We live, or we're supposed to live, in a republic. So it was just good to hear. So now I'm going to go into some articles, some news. One of the first ones I want to talk about is there was another incident. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
It was yesterday, and I'm just now hearing about it, where a Muslim decided that he was going to attack a Christian
In Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma. So we have another attack here that's getting kind of swept under the rug here. But basically, this man was a Christian. This guy was a homeless guy who went to the same church, and
The Muslim was a homeless.
well, the Muslim guy was a homeless guy. Okay, I guess he was Christian, but the Christian man took him in because he didn't want him to sleep on the street. He was doing what a good Christian should do. Well, I guess during this time period where the man was living with him, he decided he was going to pick up the Quran and start reading it. So here's the article. It says, another devout Muslim going jihad in Oklahoma. This Christian escaped with his neck, literally. A heated argument ensued after devout Muslim Jimmy Stepney said he felt like more Muslims needed to step up to the plate and do a certain thing. He was talking about beheading people. And this is I guess this was a response from the Christian man that took him in. I was just trying to pay it forward by helping him out, said the Christian. Instead, Stepney allegedly punched the victim.
All that right there is in the video, so we can just...
Yeah, okay, we got audio on this because the Oklahoma City local news, I guess it's KOCO's News, covered this yesterday. So it's KOCO News 5 if you want to Google this. So we're going to go into the audio now so you can hear the story.
Well, this family says it all started because they were trying to help out a church member who was homeless, but this home quickly became divided between two religious texts, and it ended with a knife being pulled and a baseball bat.
A warm bed and clean clothes, and that's what Jerome Bullock says he was able to give a church member in need.
Pay it forward. That's what I was doing. That's exactly what I was doing.
What he got in return?
A whole lot of scrapes, bruises, a couple of knife stab wounds, and some hurt feelings.
Bullock says Jimmy Stepney attacked him after he was told to move out. Bullock says things came to a head when Stepney started reading the Quran and talking about beheading people.
And he says that he feels like more Muslims need to step up to the plate, you know, and do certain things.
Monday, Stepney allegedly came back to this house, pulled out a knife, and went after Bullock until his mother came at him with a bat.
He was trying to kill my son. I couldn't believe that.
Stepney was eventually arrested, and Bullock, he thanks the good book and his mother for saving his life.
And the victims in this case say they hold no ill will towards any Muslims. They just want the accused suspect to get the help he needs. On the northeast side, Dave Getling, KOCO 5 News.
Okay, so that's just another story coming out of Oklahoma. I know I mentioned this a couple shows ago about how Obama had sent an official from Washington to come down and actually read a thank you letter to the mosque that Anton Nolan came out of. A lot of people didn't think that was true. They were like, that's not true. And we actually posted the news story of it. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure it's going on in different states, you know, as we speak. But a lot of it is getting swept under the rug. But that's just one of the stories, and that happened yesterday. So now I'm going to go into this other article that came out today. It says 30,000 missing emails from IRS learner recovered by Susan Faricio, November 21st, 2014, 7:18 p.m. This came out of the Washington Examiner. It says up to 30,000 missing emails sent by former Internal Revenue Service official Lois Lerner have been recovered by the IRS Inspector General 5 months after they were deemed lost forever. The U.S. Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, TIGT, congressional staffers from several committees on Friday that the emails were found among hundreds of disaster recovery tapes that were used to back up the IRS email system. They just said it took them several weeks and some forensic effort to get these emails off these tapes, a congressional aide told the Washington Examiner. The IRS...
Forget about it. But the more you look...
Sorry about that. There's a video that goes with it and decided it was going to go off. The IRS, in a statement provided to the Examiner, said the agency and IRS Commissioner John Koshkin is fully cooperating with the investigation. As Commissioner Koshkin has stated, the IRS welcomes TIGTA's independent review and expert forensic analysis. The IRS statement said Commissioner Koshkin had said for some time he would be pleased if additional Lois Lerner emails from the time frame could be found. Committees in the House and Senate are seeking the emails which they believe could show Lerner was working in concert with Obama administration officials to target conservative and Tea Party groups seeking tax-exempt status before the 2012 presidential election. The missing emails extended from 2009 to 2011, a period when Lerner headed the IRS Exempt Organizations Division. The emails were lost when Lerner's computer crashed, IRS officials said earlier this year. In June, Koshkin told Congress the emails were probably lost for good because the disaster recovery tape holds onto the data for only 6 months. He said even if the IRS had sought the emails within the 6-month period, it would have been a complicated and difficult process to produce them from the tapes. The IRS also lost the emails of several other employees who worked under Lerner during that period. Who was retired from the IRS has refused to be questioned by Congress. She provided a statement at a March hearing, but then clammed up, following the advice of her lawyer to avoid self-incrimination. The House, led by Republicans, voted in May to hold Lerner in contempt of Congress. Congressional aides said officials from the Inspector General's office said it could take weeks to get the recovered emails off the tape before sending them to lawmakers in Capitol Hill. In all, investigators from the Inspector General's office combed through 744 disaster recovery tapes. They are not finished looking. 250 million emails eye on the tapes that will be reviewed. Officials said it is likely that they will find missing emails from other IRS officials who worked under Lerner and who said they suffered computer crashes. Investigators said the emails could include some overlapping information because it is not clear how many of them are duplicates or were already produced by Lerner to the congressional committees. Representative Darrell Issa, Republican California, said the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee he chairs will be one of the committees that will examine the emails. Though it is unclear whether TIGTA has found all of the missing Lois Lerner emails, there may be significant information in this discovery, Issa told the Examiner. The Oversight Committee will be looking for information about her mindset and who she was communicating with outside the IRS during a critical period of time when the IRS was targeting conservative groups. This discovery also underscores the lack of cooperation Congress has received from the IRS. The agencies first failed to disclose the loss to Congress and then gone and lost forever. Once again, it appears the IRS hasn't been straight with Congress and the American people. One of the reasons why I wanted to cover this story is because there's a lot going on right now. You know, with the amnesty, Obama violating his oath of office. We have all this stuff coming with the Arms Trade Treaty. And it's just, for some reason, you know, I've really been watching the news, and I had to actually look online and read the actual articles in order to get this information. So there's going to be a lot going on that we're not going to hear on the news. So there's a lot of it we're going to have to actually look up and read, but that's another one I wanted to cover on tonight's show. So is there anything you wanted me to cover on Russia, Iron Man?
Whatever we got there. Pick out what you want to do. Putin greets new U.S. envoy with demand not to interfere.
This is a Yahoo article by Timothy Heritage and Gabriela Bazinska. Moscow routers. President Vladimir Putin greeted the new U.S. ambassador to Russia on Wednesday with a demand for Washington to treat Moscow as an equal partner and stay out of its internal affairs. The new envoy, John Tefft, said in a written statement after presenting his credentials that he wanted to strengthen people-to-people ties, but there were serious differences over Ukraine. Their comments underlined the chasm between the former Cold War enemies as Tefft succeeds Michael McFaul, who was behind President Barack Obama's planned reset in relations with Russia and whose posting was marked by controversy and tension. Putin met Tefft with a slight smile, and they stood stiffly beside each other, posing for photographers during a Kremlin ceremony for new ambassadors. We are ready for practical cooperation with our American partners in different fields, based on the principles of respect for each other's interests, equal rights, and non-interference in internal matters, Putin said in a short speech. His remarks were blunt, though less fierce than some of his early criticism of Washington, which he has accused of trying to dominate world affairs and suppress Russia. In a statement issued after the ceremony, Tefft said he was committed to maintaining open and frank lines of communication with the Russian authorities. We have serious differences over Russia's policy in Ukraine, as President Obama said at the G20 summit in Brisbane. We hope Russia will choose a different path to resolve the issue of Ukraine in a way that respects Ukrainians' sovereignty and is consistent with international law, he said. We would prefer a Russia that is fully integrated with the global economy, that is thriving on behalf of its people, that can once again engage with us in cooperative efforts around global challenges. Moscow approved the appointment of Tefft, even though Russian officials said privately he was not entirely to their liking. Tefft was the United States ambassador to Georgia during its short with Russia in 2008 and was the U.S. envoy to Ukraine for nearly 4 years until July of last year. He was deputy chief of mission in Moscow and in the second half of the 1990s. Other strains and ties are differences over regional conflicts, such as the civil war in Syria, arms control and human rights issues, and Putin's treatment of opponents. One thing I want to say about something that President Obama says here, when he makes a statement talking about how he's worried about those people's sovereignty. He wants to talk about the sovereignty of another country's people, but he violates his oath of office and the Constitution. Goes completely against what the people want, and pretty much gives Congress and the American people the middle finger. Then has the nerve to start talking about someone else's country. So, I just don't get that. And what was it you were talking about earlier about John Kerry?
Oh, the UK is moving in their armored division into Poland. Right now, they are calling it an exercise, a training exercise, which is really funny because Poland and the UK is moving both of their forces over to the eastern border towards Russia. At the same time this is happening, John Kerry and Biden has canceled all their plans in that region and is coming back to the U.S. right now.
Okay, so that's when I heard that today. I was thinking, there's got to be a reason why they're halting everything and coming back here. Is it because of this amnesty, thing that's going on, or is it because they know something's coming? So we've got World War III brewing over here. We've got a president who that's becoming a dictator that wants to violate the Constitution of his oath of office. Okay, my question is, what are the other branches of government going to do about it? I actually have questions here. Is there any possible way he could be arrested for violating his oath of office? Or impeached. And then my father-in-law stated that, you know, they would have to actually sue Obama, in order to impeach him. Is this true? You know, I don't know everything, but I mean, I'm looking at all this world news going on, and then all this stuff going on with the amnesty, and him violating the Constitution, and it's just like shit has hit the fan everywhere. Everybody talks about, oh no, what are we going to do when shit hits the fan? I mean, it's literally already has. I mean,
it's just not in our faces just yet.
Yeah, and then we got this Ferguson thing brewing. It's just like Kimber said the other day, or Kimberly. I call her Kimber. I don't know why I do that, but Kimberly said the other day, it sounds like the perfect storm. You know, you have all these different things going on, and it's just brewing and brewing and brewing. So we don't know how this is going to start, but we know it's going to. So either way you want to look at it, whether it's going to be over the amnesty thing or the UN pushing this arms trade treaty, what I'm worried about is, like people say, it's not ratified. This is what I'm worried about. I'm seeing my president violate his oath of office and completely shred the Constitution on TV before my eyes. And then I talked to some people about it, and they said, well, it can't be done. It's not going to happen. It hasn't been ratified. But he just violated the Constitution, and nothing is being done about it. Nothing is being done. So we have until January before the Republicans can actually do anything. And supposedly this arms trade treaty is supposed to go into effect December 24th. So can they sign that, is the question. Can they sign that treaty and make it effective before the Republicans can get in there and do anything? That is the question. Or is Obama just going to say, I'm going to do what I want, just like he did on this amnesty thing? Regardless, you know, it's going to happen one way or another. It's a perfect storm.
That just right there.
This?
Yep.
Okay. Now we have another story here. There's so many. So, NSA director, China can damage U.S. power grid. This is Associated Press by Ken Delanian, November 20th, 2014, 11:24 a.m. Washington Associated Press. China and one or two other countries are capable of mounting cyber attacks that would shut down the electric grid and other critical systems in parts of the United States, according to Admiral Michael Rogers, director of the National Security Agency and head of U.S. Cyber Command. The possibility of such cyber attacks by U.S. adversaries has been widely known, but never confirmed publicly by the nation's top cyber official. At a hearing of the House Intelligence Committee, Rogers said U.S. adversaries are performing electronic reconnaissance on a regular basis so that they can be in a position to disrupt the industrial control systems that run everything from chemical facilities to water treatment plants. All of that leads me to believe it is only a matter of when, not if, we are going to see something dramatic, he said. Outside experts say the U.S. Cyber Command also has the capability to hack into and damage critical infrastructure, which in theory should amount to mutual deterrence. But Rogers, who did not address his offensive cyber tools, said the nuclear deterrence model did not necessarily apply to cyber attacks. Only a handful of countries had nuclear capability during the Cold War, he said, and nuclear attacks could be detected and attributed in time to retaliate. By contrast, the source of a cyber attack can easily be disguised, and the capability do significant damage is possessed not only by nation-states, but by criminal groups and individuals, Rogers noted. In cyberspace, you can literally do almost anything you want, and there is not a price to pay for it. the NSA director said. Rogers' remarks about critical infrastructure attacks came in response to questioning from Republican Mike Rogers of Michigan, who chairs the Intelligence Committee. He asked the NSA director about a private report detailing China-based intrusions into the power grid and other critical systems that appeared to be precursors to attack. What other countries, the chairman wanted to know, have the capability? One or two others, the NSA director said, but he declined to name them, saying the information is classified. We're watching multiple nation-states invest in this capability. Rogers said the Obama administration is seeking to establish a set of international principles governing military cyber operations, such as banning attacks on hospitals. We need to define what would be offensive, what's an act of war, he said. The NSA's Rogers also talked about the national security damage from the ongoing theft of intellectual property through cyber attacks. Michigan's Rogers opened the hearing by saying that China's economic cyber espionage has grown exponentially in terms of volume and damage done to our nation's economic future. The Chinese intelligence services that conduct these attacks have little to fear because we have no practical deterrents to that theft. This problem is not going away until that changes. China formally denies stealing Western intellectual property through government-sponsored hacking. U.S. networks would be better protected, the NSA's Rogers said, if Congress would pass a long-pending bill to allow companies to share malware signatures and other threat information with one another and with the government, and be protected from liability by doing so. But the disclosures of the NSA spying by former agency contractor Edward Snowden have made passage of such a bill extremely difficult, lawmakers say. Wow, so there we go. There's another piece to the perfect storm. I mean, I'm not trying to sound all doom and gloom here, but this is all coming out, in mainstream sources.
But also, if you look at it too, Russia is teaming up with China right now, and Japan is right now building up their forces to go against China also.
Yeah, so I mean, there's more. I've got so many articles here I could read from. Biden dodges angry mob in Ukraine. Here we go.
About 10 minutes.
Vice President Joe Biden backed out from appearing with President Petro Poroshenko of Ukraine at a memorial ceremony in Kiev on Friday when the Secret Service determined it wasn't a good idea after a crowd became unruly, a poll report said. When Biden's motorcade arrived on outskirts of what he had become very large and somewhat unruly gathering, many chanting shame at Poroshenko, U.S. Secret Service decided it wasn't a good idea for Biden to wade in, according to the poll report. At that point, the report said Biden's motorcade turned around. Biden, who has been in Ukraine with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, was in Kiev on Friday morning to participate in a wreath-laying ceremony for people killed in demonstrations earlier this year. However, a crowd that was first around 100 people, mostly elderly men and women, quickly grew at Poroshenko's arrival. The poll report said there was little apparent interference by Ukraine's security for Poroshenko. Biden later got out of his car and shook Poroshenko's hand after the Ukrainian president emerged on foot. Biden's motorcade then drove to another location a short distance away from a bilateral meeting with Ukraine Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk. Biden eventually made an unscheduled stop to a separate memorial later in the day. According to a poll report, laying flowers at the memorial, the vice president asked to be accompanied by Miroslava Gonzid, a Voice of America correspondent in Ukrainian, who is part of the traveling pool. Gonzid's husband, an investigative journalist, was killed by government police at the location over a decade ago. The pair stood together at a memorial for about 5 minutes before Biden invited her to join him in a limo as they departed for the next stop. Biden is in Ukraine as part of a 5-day trip that began in Morocco and will end in Turkey. While in Ukraine, Biden is to talk to Ukrainian leaders about their election as they begin to step up a new government. Okay, folks, I'm going to have to end it here. We have 10, about, what?
Yeah.
So we're going to end the show tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want more people to send in their videos. Like I said in my previous video, it's a lot better if you send it to me in YouTube format, because I can take the audio directly off the video. So you know how good and clear the sound is for the music. It will come in clear and crisp and sound very, very good. So if you do want your video heard, and there's somebody that I haven't heard in a long time that I want to hear, and that's Dave Anderson. I know he's depressed, but I want to hear that man's voice. He's got a lot of good things to say, and he's very, very smart. And it's been a while. So Dave, if you can hear me, we want to hear what you have to say. All right. We'll see you next Friday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good night, everybody.
Objects of the most stupendous magnitude. Measures which will affect the lives of millions, born and unborn, are now before us. We must expect a great expense of blood to obtain them. But we must always remember that a free constitution of civil government cannot be purchased at too dear a rate, as there is nothing on this side of Jerusalem of greater importance to mankind. My worthy colleague from Pennsylvania has spoken with great ingenuity and eloquence. He has given you a grim prognostication of our national future, but where he foresees apocalypse, I see hope. I see a new nation ready to take its place in the world. Not an empire, but a republic. And a republic of laws, not men. Gentlemen, we are in the very midst of revolution. The most complete, unexpected, and remarkable of any in the history of the world. How few of the human race have ever had an opportunity of choosing a system of government for themselves and their children. I am not without apprehensions, gentlemen. But the end we have in sight is more than worth all the means. I believe, sirs, that the hour has come. My judgment approves this measure, and my whole heart is in it. All that I have, all that I am, and all that I hope in this life, I am now ready to stake upon it. While I live, let me have a country. A free country.